And we are recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rocket On Productions podcast. Hopefully, not a Star Citizens podcast anymore, but we'll see.
Yeah, I gotta stop making that joke. It's not worth it.
It's okay. When the game
And it
finally comes
never
out.
would be. Yeah, no, we firmly wouldn't be though, like just to put it on record.
Yeah, I would probably I would get that game out of curiosity, and then after that, probably wouldn't play it very much, honestly, unless I had like a dedicated group of people playing it.
I've tried it, I think it's very impressive for what it is. Like I think it does deserve some credit, but at the same time, like there I'm just if you're just talking about the numbers, right?
Oh yeah, the
And
time investment and
hopefully
everything.
hopefully Star Citizen is the exception, but almost every crowdfunded game I can think of just has gone down in flames for the most part. Besides like a core few and some by reputation that I haven't actually played.
Well, I think there's a yeah, Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2 were both crowdfunded.
Were they really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, those are really solid games.
And I understand that
And yeah,
there definitely going to be exceptions. Like
and
my bad for not realizing. But
yeah, Pillars of Eternity is actually really good too.
well, I'm just thinking like let's remember Shenmue 3, right? Let's
Oh
just
shoot, no,
did
stop!
you see
Makes me so
that
sad
was
thinking about that.
yeah. What was that other the one that was the platformer? It was made by the team that
Mighty
made
Number
Banjo
Nine.
Kazooie.
Oh
No,
no,
no, the
Ukulele.
yeah. Oh my God,
I heard
that was just
that hurt
official.
actually wasn't that bad. It just felt
Dude, it looks
too
like
much like an
it,
N64 game.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm sorry, but we gotta. I don't know. Just to me, it was like, what do you guys see in this shit? Like, but anyway, my I'm that's my dark, cynical side.
It's all good. Uh, Kickstarter is a great place for books. Oddly enough,
Yeah,
you can sell
yeah,
your idea like on Kickstarter. You might want to
right.
look into that actually.
Yeah. I don't know that just kind of that feels weird to me, but it shouldn't. But just
Yeah, this is the age of like at some point like I would need to consider Patreon as as a solution to getting paid for what I'm doing,
yeah,
and
dude.
maybe as a motivator. But it really shouldn't be about that. But
Yeah.
I'm
Well, and the
I'm
idea
human.
too,
But
and also forgive me for being a the whole reason I self-published the book was because I wanted to. I'm kind of a Ron Swanson about it. Like I I didn't want anybody to have kind of control over the IP, the intellectual property,
that's fair.
and like the idea that I could be making 70% royalties in a conventional transaction as opposed to 20, which is what a big time like traditional publishing house would give you. Like I don't know, I just don't want to give them that much power over me, if that makes sense.
No, I gotcha. Yeah. So like I don't know, like for everyone curious, The Color, which is good old Matt's book, the link to that is in the description down below. So
Oh,
go ahead and
nice,
click
nice,
it
dude.
and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Appreciate you.
really gotta push that some more, honestly.
Also, I got to give you the link because I have a new link that has
Really.
there's I don't know, my
We're gonna get you
brother's
that
link.
audiobook link too as well.
Oh, dude, I just want to I just need something to be excited about at this point.
Yeah.
I just don't, I feel like
It's a
now that
corona time, we all need to be excited about something. So
yeah, I'm on the job hunt, so I got to go back to work and Costco's looking really, really nice right now.
dude, I will
um,
say Costco has some pretty solid benefits.
that's what everybody
Yeah.
says. So I was kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, but the idea that the audiobook is coming soon and like with a professional who's doing it, I think that could really make a big difference.
Yeah, I think
So,
well, also, sorry, folks. We're talking about Costco employee benefits, but I'm pretty sure like they're pretty strict on their times as well. So you're not gonna like
oh, really?
overworking you or anything like that. I don't. I had never heard anything bad about working at Costco. It's always been pretty
That's
positive
very
stuff.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, that's what Brian said. My brother's a small business owner up in Denver, which is scary at this point in time, but for that's something I won't get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was talking about how consistently Costco is rated as like the best company in America because their employees just love the benefits and just refuse to say anything bad
Yeah.
about.
And
Which
their
I could totally appreciate.
their
That's
products are actually super good. They're like
yeah,
their
yeah.
store brand. Like I buy a lot of the store. Yeah, okay, no, we're getting off track. We're talking about
Yeah, yeah.
Costco.
The Costco podcast. That's what we'll
Yeah.
do next time.
But yeah, So
Give us a sponsorship.
sponsor is Costco.
Yeah, sponsor us, Costco.
Like, I would take a free yearly membership, honestly, at this
Yeah,
point.
seriously, dude. At this point, yeah, just
Yeah.
to secure enough toilet paper.
Yeah, oh God.
All right.
Of all things to hoard, by the way.
I know,
Like
Jesus Christ.
seriously?
I heard a good joke about it saying that in the first world, that's such a hilarious thing to panic about,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, do I have enough toilet paper? It's like we have running water that's clean to drink. Like you have a shower in your house. Like things, so many other things will go so much worse
Yeah.
before the toilet paper running out will be the biggest problem in your life.
Yeah.
So
I was like first like I went out and shopped for like a bunch of hoarding supplies just because my,
everybody did,
my
yeah,
my
yeah,
family, well, also my family just shops months ahead anyways, so
yeah, yeah,
we just
right.
did
I
that but
got,
on
I got ahead
steroids.
of it.
But then my mom wanted to go out and get some like Korean like items because she doesn't know what she's gonna get anymore. So we go out. The store is almost sold out. So my mom's like, "I'm gonna clean up," and we
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
we,
know it.
we
Oh my
just
god.
spent like a solid hour just picking up like, yeah, we need those
And
instant
buying
noodles. We've
that
never ate those
crazy
before.
Korean stuff, like just something very, very exotic and kind of like
Yeah,
it's like, Mom, why? When would we ever eat this? And on another,
we got like what 4 boxes of like 20 packs of instant noodles,
damn,
and
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
that's
like,
fun.
yeah, we're set.
Yeah, oh
It's like,
yeah, man, I would live in your house just for the Korean food.
oh
Oh
man,
man,
we just made some like army stew or budae
nice.
which is just it was outstanding.
Yeah.
It tastes like not good for you, but it's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that's a taste you just know when you eat it. You're like, no, this is probably gonna give me a heart attack if I keep eating it, but it's great.
Well, you know, can't live forever.
Yeah, or you get coronavirus and just have a fever and die. So there's that.
That or hopefully we just level out that curve when everybody just keeps the buzzword that everybody just keeps saying. It's like anyway. So dude, let me tell you about Doom Eternal because
I've heard
it's
many good things.
I gotta strike while the iron's hot, and I just wanna gonzo journalist this real fast and like,
Nice.
you know, get drunk and just sing it at you. No, I'm just kidding.
That's how you do it.
Uh, yeah, no. So, but for realsies, it's a good ass game. At first I was kind of skeptical. I don't know why, because like everybody keeps talking about it in that fashion, and I'm wondering how it'll age, like how long, like what its replayability will be. But for starters, like I was hearing good things from all the main line news casts and thinking like, well, sometimes they just do that for like the sponsorship, and I've been seeing like all these commercials and stuff, so I was a little worried about it. But in terms of like I'm an I'm an OG PC gamer, career PC master race,
Yep.
and Doom is, Doom was like, I remember a way we got to play that on the school computers back in the
Oh yeah,
90s,
everyone did
right?
that when
Yeah,
they
right.
had the floppy disk. And it's like I got Doom.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. And so the fact that it was just like that was a, and I don't remember.
Pretty like little odd side story here, but I
Yeah.
remember I was in Catholic school,
Oh
and
God,
during the
I was in
during,
Catholic school for a while.
yeah, I was in Catholic school for like what it was like first grade to fifth grade. But yeah, like during like the fourth grade, we were practicing with computers, and the teacher left for like the whole period for some reason. I forgot what it was. But a dude just pulls out a floppy disk. And is like, I got Doom.
I got Doom.
We're in a Catholic school huddled around a
Dude,
dude playing
those
Doom.
are the words being said all over the world in the summer of 1993 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't. Was that what year came out?
No,
Oh,
maybe I don't know. Again, I was born in 1992, so it was like
yeah.
But yeah, it was just like it was a poor Catholic school, so of course we were using floppy disks when I was like 10. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Dude.
yeah, we were
Well,
just dealing with that, and it was like, oh my god, just
well. Spoiler alert. But apparently, there's a way. I think you can look up the code now. I don't remember what it is, but it's a code you put into. So in Doom Eternal, you have this hub space. It's kind of like the Nexus, the Firelink Shrine. The hub world. Um, and it's uh I think you enter into the console, like there's a computer in there, and if you enter in this specific code, you can literally play the whole of Doom 2 in Doom Eternal
Mhm.
on this little console,
Really, that's
which is
outstanding.
amazing. Because I mean, that's how, dude. It's peanuts at this point in terms of space. Like you could fit it. uh, you could just add it into the game files real cheap.
It's like just a dot in
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
the
It's
storage
amazing.
capacity we have nowadays.
Yeah.
Is
But
it
I'm about, I think I'm almost at the end at this point. I just blew a hole in Mars because I'm going to the core.
to fight
uh,
demons, obviously?
yeah, right. Just to stomp through the faces of everything that lives and breathes. But
Yeah.
so, what's up?
No, I was gonna say like, I appreciate how like the reboot has the complexity in its lore, but the actual gameplay is go here, beat the crap out of this demon, and keep going.
I think the very first thing I noticed and the thing I had to get used to was exactly how video gamey it is. And it is shamelessly so. It is, in some places, it looks like Mario in terms of its platforming
Yeah.
segments, like just rotating fireballs that just don't make any sense at all, and like Capra demons placed in convenient platforming puzzles that are just, and I think they're fun, like really engaging, but not immersive. And so you gotta just get used to that. But the thing that helped, I noticed, and this just helped for me. I don't know if it helped for anybody else, but there's an option in the settings because like the settings are really in depth, which I also can really appreciate and like. I love to get into settings and just
PC
and
Master Race,
micromanage shit.
maybe.
Yeah, right. Like change the crosshair style. But so you can change the way. So conventional FPSs these days have the weapon kind of on the right side of the screen, angled towards the center. And so when you're like running in a first person shooter, you can see the side of the weapon and like the bolt and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know how that works. So in OG Doom, it was just like dead center, aimed directly to the front of the screen.
Yeah.
That's an option in the UI, and so you can just have your weapon just chilling in the center of the screen, like OG Doom style. And now I was like, okay, yeah, now I'm sold. Like that was, it is so amazing, and like, so, and that's what I mean. The whole game feels like such an old style of game, and yet everything about it is so new, cutting edge, innovative. Like the design is just really tight. Like,
Well, that's like
uh,
what I've noticed about a lot of more like games that are catching on nowadays is that they've resorted to like older design philosophies. Like there's more single player games coming out nowadays rather than like always
yeah,
online
yeah,
multiplayer.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like, man. It's like, and they're not trying to be, as far as I understand, they're not planning on doing. They have a PvP multiplayer mode, but it's it's essentially just gunfight. It's one person. It kind of reminds me of Evolve, I guess. Like one person plays as the Doomslayer, and then two other people play as demons. Either a Revenant or a Mancubus,
Oh, nice.
which is kind of. And I haven't tried it yet, and I don't know. I'm not. That doesn't sound very
Yeah,
enticing to me.
Doom's
I just can't see
multiplayer.
myself doing
Yeah,
any of
yeah.
that.
I feel like Doom has always been sold on like the single player. I know like the
Well,
older games had pretty
yeah,
solid multiplayer with like LAN parties and everything like that, but like modern day Doom, I'm talking about like the
yeah,
single player campaign has been the main selling point, which is really weird. Like it's just really weird to hear that in a
yeah.
shooter because the Call of Duty is like, oh yeah, you don't have to play the campaign to play multiplayer.
Yeah, right. And and they're separate. They're completely separate experiences. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
what I really liked in Doom 2016, the initial reboot, that I hope they carry over is they had these like they had these player made map modes, right? Where like you could, they had a map editor you could make, and you had custom levels that you could go do,
Oh yeah, I
right?
played a
And
few of
that's
those.
yeah, yeah. And I thought they
Some dude
were
made
interesting.
Harvest Moon in it.
Oh, really?
It was like a
Oh,
really
no.
cheap version. It wasn't like as detailed,
Yeah, right.
obviously, but like
Yeah.
you just essentially farmed materials and then used that materials to buy weapons to shoot demons.
Yeah, right.
And it was fun
And
for about 30 minutes, and it's kind of like, okay, this is
exactly
yeah.
right. And I'm just I love that type of stuff. I used to do that on Far Cry all the time, and like custom maps on Halo were always a huge part. And it's fun, I don't know, appreciate it. But I'm hoping, especially now, because the way Doom Eternal plays, even compared to Doom 2016, is totally different. It feels like so fast, and like you when you when you fall, it's like I don't know, the flow state, I guess. When you fall into sync, it's like in Monster Hunter or something, or another game akin to, where you just really are in sync, after you've kind of learned the systems,
Oh yeah.
and you're really just crushing it. And that's why, like, even I'm playing on ultra violence mode right now, which is just a step below nightmare. I don't know how people are talking about playing on nightmare. I'm like, I don't know how I can barely survive ultra violence. Like,
People do
it is a
like no
difficult.
death runs on Nightmare, and it's like
I'm so interested. I'm so interested to see what the what do you call it, the speed run of Doom Eternal is going forward, because it's just such a, like, mechanical masterpiece.
yeah.
Because I mean, I watched another video on it about Digital Foundry. I don't know if you've seen their videos where they do like tech tests and just talk about what's going on under the hood, essentially.
I think occasionally I've seen them.
And
Yeah.
well, Doom Eternal, they were just gushing about the new engine and how good it looks, and like volumetric lighting and just render solutions to keep to just keep every amount of space they possibly can to keep the frames high. I literally, it's soft. My computer is silent as a church mouse when it's playing Doom and it's on like ultra settings, and I'm just like blown away. And also, you know what it feels like? I was realizing it looks like Unreal Engine 3's like tech demo. It's just very
Yeah.
old conventional Quake
Yeah.
photography, and it's just all like it feels just like a return to form. Because dude, that's what we're in. We're in like the age, the Renaissance. Like we're going back to all the OG stuff. Like Resident Evil 3's remake is coming out. Final Fantasy 7. Doom Eternal is just a really awesome, bold, big, huge remake of Doom 2.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
feel like they're going back without jumping too far back. I think that's a good part
yeah,
that
right.
I'm like seeing, because I know a lot of people still want the Final Fantasy VII remake to be like fully turn based, none of the action combat included. I kind of like,
Hey, you
okay,
know what, dude?
that's too
Hey,
far of a
man.
jump, guys.
Yeah, fuck those people. I'm just kidding. But I do think, like, come on, you can't get. I mean, I don't know. At the same time, like, the good Earth is rich, and we can find ways to do both of those things. Like, but we've already seen that the modding community has great, like, 3D upgrades to Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah, like, they sometimes redo the entire like background environments, the character
Yeah.
models. They even there's like just some mods that just change the story entirely. I think there's one that just brings Aerith back, and I'm kind of like, okay,
What?
that sounds a bit silly, but
Yeah, right.
like some of the things were pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what do you? I know, like, you're not going to make everybody happy, right? That's never going to be
Well,
possible.
the main thing is like again, like Final Fantasy VII will always exist. They always import it to new consoles. It's
Yeah,
always going
right.
to be there. You
Yeah.
can like easily get an emulator for it. I know that's not like on the up and up, but if you bought the game like 5 times, you can probably just get it on an emulator for PC
Yeah, right.
and just play it that way. It's on Steam too. First of
Yeah,
all,
dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like
seriously.
yeah, so like you can play it whenever you want to. It's never going to be taken away. And for that, I just feel like a little more innovation, especially when it says remake. So they're remaking the game entirely. And
Yeah, right.
in that aspect, like
It's
I just want
licensed.
something
Yeah.
different. Like and then Doom did it as well. If we're gonna like go back to Doom, like Doom 2016 is essentially just a reboot.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I think though like the plot explanation for Doom guy is that he was ravaging hell so badly in his own universe, they trapped him in sarcophagus and somehow he ended up hopping to a different universe. And so you're essentially the same Doom guy from the old games just put into his new world.
Oh yeah. Oh no, dude. I unlocked the OG Doom Guy outfit, and I've been. It's great. It's
Nice.
the one that's on the cover of the famous, kind of like where his centerpiece like exposes his
Yeah,
six pack.
yeah, and he's just shooting everything.
Yeah. Oh man. That's like what I love. It is just it's such a shameless video game in the very best way,
Well,
because like when you're playing it, it just feels really, really good. It just
it just
feels
feels
very
it
cool.
feels unbridled from like today's like inhibitions. Because like
Yeah.
today, like a lot of like of what we do or what we say is always carried with like maybe I shouldn't put this in here for if we want to reach a large audience or anything like that. And Doom Eternal is just kind of like here, here's all of it. It's just straight in your face. Like you're fighting demons in hell. Like what do you want from me? Kind of
Yeah,
thing. And
right.
like so,
But it's not even, like I don't even think it doesn't take itself that seriously either. Like the way you're murdering these demons and stuff isn't all that, like, it's grotesque in this sort of in this very video gamey way. I don't put it where it's like cut them in half and just like knocking their heads
You,
into their
you chainsaw a dude and he spews
diaphragms and
bullets at
stuff.
you.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
it's like it's never really all that shocking or gross because I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just doesn't like
It's so video
it.
gamey, it doesn't feel like super like real and visceral kind of thing, right?
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it feels like a return to roots. It just doesn't take itself that it's like I heard the devs talking about it one time, and they were describing it as junk food, but at the same time, they're trying to sneak in nutrition wherever they can, And so it's like they want the raw experience to feel kind of like junk food, where you're just slaying. Like, why are you slaying? Stop asking questions, just do it, But like at the same time, they want the actual raw experience to be refined and curated, and I'm that's what I'm feeling. It's just and especially like the difficulty I'm playing on, dude, I just get absolutely crucified all the time. But when you beat the room, when you finally clear the room, it's just a flow state thing because you get stuck in a loop, where you're like, okay, the first time you die because this particular type of demon kills you. The Mancubus, for instance, has these two big guns on his arms, and he's like really thick boy, and he can't, and he's hard to take down. Just he's a bullet sponge. But his weakness, what you come to learn, is that if you shoot the cannons with a specific mod you can get for your gun, for your assault rifle, which gives you a precision shot, it gives you like a sniper round that you can load in when you aim down sight. If you hit his cannons, it completely debuffs his damage, and then it opens you up to just like lay into him damage wise without getting like dumped on by his artillery.
Oh, nice.
So so anyway, so that's just one example, right? But every other demon has exactly the same kinds of counters, just with different weapons. And so it's a it's kind of
A dance
a
almost.
Rubik's cube. Yeah, it's a dance exactly. So like that. So the Mancubus does that. I'm trying to remember the names. The Caco demon is flying around, and so if he gets close to you and chomps you, like he will kill you in like two bites. But he's usually really easy to deal with because your shotgun has a grenade launcher mod, and so you shoot him with that and just one round will put him into his stagger state where you can like do the finisher move, the killer,
And
like
jump up and
the glory kills.
rip his eye out.
Yeah,
Like,
you rip his eye out
"Ah."
and shove it down his throat and uh
Real
cut in
80s
half and
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
stick a knife up his ass
Yeah.
and whatever. Yeah, so like but anyway, so yeah, so it's a puzzle game really. Like you're just running around the room trying not to die, trying to figure out the order of operations,
Well,
if that makes sense.
yeah, I think that reflects like again like more modern, like modern like nowadays game design where like it's not entirely fully reflex like something like Call of Duty is,
Yeah.
or like fully tactical like something like Divinity Original Sin would be. It's like there's a lot of like that. It's quick, but you also need to think on your feet kind of gameplay, which makes it challenging. And I enjoy
Yeah.
like, games that
Yeah.
make things challenging, because like I've been playing the new Ori and the Will of the Wisps a little bit.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
got that. I've been playing it a little bit, but not probably
yeah,
not as much as you.
yeah. I really love that game. I've been like trying to record a few gameplay videos for my other like gaming
Ooh,
channel. Yeah, but
yeah.
link to that in description down below. Yeah, what's up?
It's a
Soft
great.
plug,
It
but
feels. It's a great platformer.
yeah. And I think like because like I because I was like I'm gonna be a real gamer. I'm gonna play in hard mode, and
Mm,
I got my ass kicked for about a straight hour. Like because
yeah.
no I well until I got the sword where I didn't get like wrecked as hard. Like and because the first weapon they give you is a torch. I'm like, yeah, I have a torch. I can just take on the world. And like the
Yeah.
first
Exactly.
grunt enemy wipes me out for a solid 5 minutes. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
I have made a serious mistake. And then now I still die a lot, but like thankfully
Oh
the gameplay loop in that game is like so quick that you barely feel it.
yeah, dude.
So
Well, honestly, man, one of these days, I think you really should, and maybe during the coronavirus, because you have all this time to be at home to think about yourself and how to be a better gamer, because that's the most important thing in life. We all know.
hmm
If you're listening to this podcast, you think that. Uh, no, but so see, I realized just how much I love a refined experience and like refined, tight game design. more than anything else. And I know it just goes back to my high horse of Dark Souls, but like Doom Eternal gives me that feeling again because it feels like Sekiro. It feels like, man, you're just bouncing off this boss, like just getting your shit kicked in, and you're like, damn, like, but at the same time, I never had the urge. That's something I realized. Where like if I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on hard mode, which I tried for a while, and I was like, the difference between hard and medium in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is just how many swings of the sword it takes to kill the big thick boy.
Yeah.
That's literally the only difference, and how many hits you can take in countermeasure. And so it's not really like that's kind of a JV. I just don't in that like like I like playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on easy because I'd rather be role playing. And I'm like, well, this guy, like this, or Cassandra, this Misthios character, this Spartan badass, would be killing people in one hit. So
Yeah.
like, and I know that's like cheesy and it doesn't work all the time. But at the same time, I'm a glutton for Sekiro. And then when I'm playing Doom Eternal, I never once had the urge to turn down the difficulty, which like any other game, I might have that urge where I'd be like, man, it's just undoable at this point. I just don't care. I just want to relax and not have to think about it. But that's not what I'm experiencing when I'm playing Doom Eternal. I'm just like I'm just like, it's a very active, uh, it takes a very active, you know, play style, which
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate because like that's you don't see that
I
a
think
lot.
what plays into that too is like the checkpoint system too. Probably is really satisfying in that when you die, you can just hop into the action immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. Because sometimes like I know Kingdom Hearts did this terribly in like its first game where you fought like the boss fight with Riku when he's possessed by Ansem is
Yeah.
notoriously hard for like beginner gamers. It's not that bad for me right now, but like remember when I was a kid.
Oh, where he gives you the
Yeah,
sword, he gives you the wooden sword and says, "Play with this."
yeah, and then you get back to him, and then
Play with this dipshit.
he fights you with his like evil keyblade, and you're like, oh cool, and then he starts doing the
With the
freaking
eye. Yeah.
yeah, and he starts Supermaning you, and you're like, what the hell? And then you die, and then you have to go watch a 20-minute cutscene to fight him again.
Yeah.
You couldn't skip cutscenes.
Oh, dude,
I'm like,
no.
ooh,
Really?
yeah, ooh, it
In the
was
original Kingdom
bad.
Hearts, you couldn't skip cutscenes.
You could
Are
not.
you sure?
It killed me when I was
Oh, really?
when I was a kid. I think I had more patience for that. So like,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
absolutely,
but
dude.
nowadays, like, ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I remember when I was a
Absolutely.
kid, I just thought the writing in that game was just absolutely wonderful, and I still think it's great. It still has a lot of flaws. Don't get me wrong, but like back then, I was just like wholly into it. I was like, yeah,
I
get him,
think
Donald. I don't.
well, we need to talk more about Kingdom Hearts 3 because I still haven't been able to get through it, and
Oof.
I want to know what you think about how
I
it's aged,
I
and
think.
like after you sat with it for a while.
Well, again, like the plot could have been handled way better. I do appreciate where he went with the plot in some
Okay.
ways. I haven't played the new Remind DLC, which apparently enhances like the ending plot a little bit. But I think the main
Yeah.
issues with that game is that the plot doesn't happen until the very last like 5 hours.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. You said
like
that.
everything you're playing until then just feels like filler.
Yeah.
And like Kingdom Hearts
God.
2 and 3, no, what, 2, 1 and 2 did a much better job of making the plot actually feel like part of the make the world feel like actually part of the plot. One did it the best because you're trailing Riku, and
Yeah.
like Neverland, this comes to a head too, where like you're on opposite sides of the world competing against each other, as well as like the Monstro. But I think Neverland shows that the most because you're both
Yeah. Yeah.
aiming for the same goal, just working on different sides for it.
So wait, Neverland shows up the most?
Well, Neverland shows the like the dynamic of like Riku and Sora in Kingdom Hearts 1 the most, and
Yeah.
that like when you show up, Riku's working for Captain Hook, and Sora's trying to get out of jail. Who's got because he got imprisoned by Captain Hook.
Right.
And I think that little like spin there makes it a little bit like better, and that like it keeps it more engaged in the plot. I think Birth by Sleep did this a lot too, where like you'll go into a world, and depending what character you are, some other character may have already done something, and you feel their impact as you deal with their repercussions of their actions as well.
Yeah.
So like yeah, the worlds in those games felt like part of the plot. The problem with Kingdom Hearts 3 is that you're essentially wandering around, and then Sora has an epiphany, and it's like, I must go save this person, and then you just save them.
Honestly, dude, I
Yeah,
think the fact that because I was just remembering how much like, especially Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, using the classic Disney. movies. It's just such an easy free chicken formula for nostalgia
Yeah.
and like just irking nostalgia to people. And I'm just reminded of all the ones that I just love, and they're different for everybody, but like Nightmare Before Christmas and Kingdom Hearts 2. Just
Oh yeah.
like it doesn't matter. It could have been terrible. It could have been a terrible level or whatever, but it's like the fact that I'm just running around in Christmas in a different outfit. I'm like, that's what I wanted to do. That's what 13-year-old Matt wanted to
Yeah.
do. And so like, and the same thing could be said for like every other level. But then the problem, and maybe it's a generational thing, maybe it's just like
Well,
the writing, but in Kingdom Hearts 3, the fact that they do a lot of the more recent animated ones,
mhm.
and even like, Pirates of the Caribbean would probably be cool, and I need to go back and finish it. But
I'm biased just because I have good memories of Tangled outside of the actual movie itself, which is actually a solid movie. I like the movie as well, but like when I played the Tangled world, I don't know, I really liked it for some reason.
oh yeah, no, no, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to criticize, but at the same time, I thought I was going to be able to go back because in Kingdom Hearts 2, it was like you got to go back to 2 in Kingdom Hearts 1, but enhanced, or like at least some of them.
Oh yeah,
And
they
the
had
ones you,
you go through the like in Kingdom Hearts 2, you go through the worlds and it's the initial like you basically go through the plot of each game
yeah,
of each world of each Disney movie, and then there's a second go around where it's a shorter
yeah,
encounter, but
yeah, and
this
you
one's
have to,
tied into the plot this time where
yeah.
you deal with like either an organization member or something's happening that has repercussions to the
Yeah.
outside worlds kind of thing.
Well, I just mean like I would have liked to be able to go back to Mulan's world, or like more of the worlds from the older games, like the old 2D animation places that they, because like I mean, and there were less worlds, right? It wasn't it. How many actual worlds were there in Kingdom Hearts 3?
Ah man, I don't know. Let me look this up. Worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3. Okay, let's see. The worlds are much bigger in Kingdom Hearts 3, so we gotta give them a little bit of credit
Oh yeah, no,
there.
and
But
I'm
yeah.
not. I need to. I can't really speak on authority because I haven't beat it yet. I'm still on
We'll see.
Tangled
Like they
World.
did, like the Tangled world is one of the biggest worlds, which is really
Hmm.
surprising. But I think they could have done with a lot more with a lot of the other worlds. Like I wanted to see more of the original worlds, like Twilight Town. That was
Yeah,
disappointing.
dude, Twilight Town, dude, come on.
Oh man, makes me so sad. Okay, so there's one, two,
Show me
three, four,
Roxas
five, six,
and
seven, eight,
Naminé.
nine, 10. There's 10 worlds total,
Yeah.
and then
I
worlds in
mean,
Kingdom Hearts 2. Let me see comparison because that was the bigger game.
yeah, I thought Toy Story was gonna like give me
13
more.
worlds. And two, so 15 worlds total in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Really?
Yep.
Hmm,
But
interesting.
again, like there's much more exploration in Kingdom Hearts 1. Kingdom Hearts 3, I mean. So like the world you stay in the worlds longer, but like I feel like
Yeah.
plot wise, you do a lot more. You're like a lot more involved in plot within Kingdom Hearts 2. At least it feels that
Yeah.
way because you're constantly engaged.
Yeah.
Kingdom
No,
Hearts
that's
3
for
has this
sure.
thing where like you just have large gaps where you're just wandering the world. I
Yeah.
know I must have spent like at least 5 hours alone in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, where I was just playing my version of Black Flag.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like, ha ha, I'm on a boat. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but here we are.
Honestly, dude, I think the thing that's most attractive about Final Fantasy VII, which we need to talk about more because I actually have a new plan, but
Nice.
Final Fantasy VII feels like the remake feels like what Kingdom Hearts 3 represents for me for nostalgia and for what I want in that experience. Because like Kingdom Hearts 3 just didn't like speak to me in the way that Kingdom Hearts 2 did. And
Hmm.
I think that might just be because I'm older and I'm different and
Well,
like it's
I,
just not
I
my speed.
I think the older I get, the more I find that the Disney worlds get in the way of the plot.
Yeah.
Because the actual plot
Yeah, right.
itself, I find to be well, like it's convoluted. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
shit's
yeah.
confusing. like,
Yeah, but it
but
had like it had its bespoke moments and it
yeah.
shouldn't be downplayed and you're right. No, you're totally right. But the reason, I also grew up with I didn't specifically play all the way through Final Fantasy VII back like on the PS1, but
Hmm.
my buddy in high school played it religiously and he played it in front of me a lot, so I've seen it a lot kind of secondhand. watched Advent Children when it came out, you know,
My number one guilty pleasure movie, the complete edition,
and
is a great
oh yeah,
action flick. I
and
can't
he
I
gets
can't attest to the plot, but you know.
oh yeah, dude. I think the plots. I don't. I'm a Final Fantasy Advent Children apologist. I think it's a great. But
Oh no, I will be purely for the fact that I
dilly
can look
dally
at all my
shilly
characters.
shally.
Oh my god, it kills me every
That's when
time.
I fell in love with Tifa that moment. Right, Tifa was my girl at that moment.
Like, you're,
No, I'm just
for me, I was like, you're killing me. You're killing me, baby.
kidding, dude. Oh no, Tifa. I'm a Tifa. I'm a Tifa man.
Obviously, I mean,
So
best girl.
yeah, but he like anyway. So yeah, but I feel a lot of nostalgia for that, and literally, dude, I just want to gush for a second. But when that opening hits you right in the feels, it hit me right in the feels, and I'm not even like I thought I was a passive Final Fantasy VII fan, as far as like, and most of my nostalgia comes from Kingdom Hearts 2. You know, like fighting 1,000
Hardly, yeah,
enemies. You know,
Cloud and Squall.
yeah, right. It's like such a dope ass. That's top 10 video game moments of all time, right
Yeah.
there. That's in there.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, just like seeing the opening is so famous anyway. And I've seen it so many times. Like when they show Aerith during the opening and her big ass green eyes, like that moment is like that hits hard, dude. And you're like, I could see this being very effective.
Yeah,
Huge nostalgia bone.
I like bit my tongue resisting downloading that demo because I just want the full game to come out. So
Well, dude,
I can disappear
I'm
for 3 days and then I'll emerge like I have been reborn.
I actually think, dude, and you might don't hate me for this, but I think I might wait because I want to play it on the PC, and I know that's so shallow, and I'm sorry,
Oh,
but I
I
want to
I
see it
I
in
can't.
as it was
Yeah,
intended.
I can't wait that
Oh no, no,
long.
no, no!
I
I
will
think
be
this could
just
be
like
good though
yeah.
because we could just do the reverse, and you could talk about it, and I could just ask you the questions, and then I could just get to it later, which I will. I definitely will. You know,
Maybe have a
like
slideshow of my crying face the whole time I'm playing.
and that's if I can
Yeah,
survive, if I can survive the temptation, because
I don't know.
yeah,
It's gonna be hard, dude.
it's a long summer. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
If everyone's stuck at home still, we're gonna be like,
Dude,
I guess I'll just buy the game.
yeah, I'm just gonna be so impatient
Yeah.
for Cyberpunk. You know,
Oh man, that's gonna be
I was
like
thinking about that.
That's like maybe the first like game I would play normally through, and then I would just do a bunch of random like challenge playthroughs of that game. Just
I'm
to,
hoping, for the love of God, for the love of all things holy, just give me a reason to dump 300 hours into a Skyrim, style
yeah,
experience. Because I just haven't had that. I haven't had that urge. Like, I've been playing through The Witcher 3, and it's good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a little tapped out because it's such a similar kind
feel,
of,
yeah,
like the experience is like run here, receive exposition,
yeah,
hit the A button to do dialogue, hit the X button to attack,
yeah,
get to the next cutscene, meditate to
yeah.
heal.
Yeah, again, like what I want from Cyberpunk is the same gameplay. We begin with the active but like thinking
Yeah.
type of combat, which again
Oh
the
my
gameplay demo
god.
showed plenty of that, and I was like, I'm down. But I also want
Dude,
like
let me role play the way I
yeah,
like.
exactly.
And
Like,
yeah.
after I play the game normally, I'm just gonna have a playthrough.
Yeah,
I
dude.
might stream it where I just no cybernetic enhancements
Oh,
at all.
let me break this game. Let me beat this with a poison soup ladle.
Yeah,
Let me. Those are the best. I love following. I love One Punch Man.
yeah,
I can't remember who the YouTuber does this, but where it's like he'll go into games and RPGs and just give himself nuclear power by buffing and like min maxing his character.
yeah, and then punching
Check
dudes to
sheet,
death. Yeah,
and then just literally one shotting, and he does it on Dark Souls, which is like that's a perfect example of how you couldn't possibly call this game hard when that's possible. Like, you know.
yeah,
But anyway.
that's great. But yeah, like I want that to like because especially because like I always like I played Shadowruns and like Shadowruns Returns
Oh,
a
dude, I
lot.
played Shadowrun. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was a good game.
yeah, I played like Shadowruns Returns, which is like the tabletop RPG.
Oh, right.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and then
That's
like
like a cyberpunk
yeah,
game.
that's a cyberpunk fantasy game, and the
Yeah,
problem with that game though is that like as much as I enjoy those type of games and how they do get you in the world and lore,
yeah.
the actual campaign isn't that open ended, and like it lasts about 15 hours and then you're done. It's a solidly written and super like well made game. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like I've just never spent a long period of time in a cyberpunk world, and I want cyberpunk to give me
I
that
gotcha.
that
I gotcha.
experience where like it's the Skyrim thing where like I have 1,000 hours in this, and I've been just searching
Yeah.
every nook and cranny of this cyberpunk world that's been open to me, and like I just wanted to feel like that constantly.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think you can probably agree with me. But the for me, what I realize is, or I have a theory about, is like there are games that I play for the raw gameplay and the experience and how that is just satisfying. And then there's other games like you play for the narrative or the story or the immersion or some other variable that's separate from the actual like input output, right? But only so rarely do those things line up
Mm-hmm.
where what you're actually doing input output is satisfying in tandem with the extra variables like the narrative or the meta, like the the role playing aspect
Yeah.
of uh of big games like Skyrim and shit like that.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
again, like I don't really play Skyrim for the plot. I play it for the role play of like, what am I doing in this
yeah, right.
world?
Exactly. Yeah, and really that's all it is just a visual aid to do that. And
Yeah,
when it's doing it well, you're just completely in the flow state and just completely inhabited. And it's kind of like the video game equivalent of making the strawberries sweet.
yeah,
It's like the raw like just swinging your sword at a wolf until it dies doesn't isn't jack shit in terms of stimulus, but at the same time in the context it's real. It's like it just works.
yeah, yeah.
And
And it's for me, like it's
Todd
kind of
Howard,
yeah,
it just
it just works. It doesn't work, Todd. Okay,
no, no,
that's the
Todd,
problem. It doesn't work.
no, that's the problem,
Yeah,
Todd.
yeah, but I think for me, like well, using Monster Hunter as an example, like I just like narrating things in my head because like I'm good.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm good at Monster Hunter. I'm not like perfect though, and
Oh
I
no,
abuse the fact that I can just switch my loadout at any time during
bro,
combat. So like for me, it's kind of like I know some people
bro.
hate that about Monster Hunter, like the old school purists, but like for me,
Oh no,
when I'm fighting a dude with like a sword and shield, like yeah, I'm doing work, and then this monster just bodies me into next week.
yeah, right.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, fine, fine, fine. And I like stumble into my tent, and I come out with a huge chain gun. I'm like, okay, yep, you're about to get this work.
Hey, dude.
Like,
Well,
yeah,
hey, man. Monster Hunter will and has been and always will be a Warhammer roleplay for me. I'm in Lustria fighting the Lizard Men, and I'm either a
really
border
big
prince
lizard men.
or dog of war or some other kind of mercenarial type. Uh, you
Nice.
know, I was like role playing honestly when I first played through the campaign again. It was just so satisfying because it just reminded me of like I'm always looking for the Jack and Daxter of a game, and that's my personal criteria because the original Jack and Daxter for PS2 and its sequel Jack 2, both sequels Jack 2 and Jack 3, were just so consequential. I just thought they
It's
were such
the
like
yeah, those games have like such a weird narrative arc, but it works so well. It's really
I
strange. Like,
they are in typical Naughty Dog fashion, and I didn't realize was their strength until Naughty Dog made more games. On the Uncharted and Last of Us being the real examples, but they are adept at stealing style and value out of other people's like stuff. Uncharted, for instance, didn't invent the wheel on its cover system. It stole that from Gears of War. It was Tomb Raider, essentially, Indiana Jones in its writing style. And yet, all those things together, right? Uncharted 2 was just such a great game, even though it didn't invent anything. Last of Us is an example, too. That's an example of, for me, for a game where I played Last of Us for the narrative. Um, and for a couple, I don't know. I think mostly for the narrative as opposed to the actual raw gameplay loop.
yeah, because
Because it's not all that
some
sophisticated.
people
It's
point
not.
out the gameplay is actually not the best in The
It's
Last of Us.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's very simple, right? In the same way that Red Dead 2 is nothing to write home about in terms of game design. Like,
yeah,
no
like
offense,
it's
love Red Dead,
yeah,
think it's one of the best games ever made, simply because the narrative is Oscar worthy.
yeah.
It's just like and the immersion. It really does. It is successful at building that
Yeah.
that.
I think for me, Red Dead 2 killed me with how immersive it was. Like
Yeah, no,
I enjoy me some immersion, but that game just took it
but
to another level, and I was like,
it
oh,
I firmly believe this. It prioritized animation over input, right? And the key distinction is that a game has to feel good. It can't just look good, right? And I this was talked about by one of the Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order
hmm
devs, which I think that was I don't know what do you think about that game, but I played it, really liked it. I thought
it
it
was it,
wasn't
it was
like
it, it wasn't like gaming. The gameplay systems wasn't gaming perfection, but it was super satisfying. Like
right. The sum of its parts.
yeah, yeah.
Another example,
Each
kind of a
individual part wasn't perfect, but all together it made for a really
right.
like just like never stopped playing it. Like I just kept
It was
playing it.
dude. It was my Jedi power fantasy. I thought it was successful at accomplishing that goal. It wasn't perfect. If anything, what I really wanted was more. And that's selfish because it was a pretty big game, all things considered. But like, I just I want Jedi Outcast in the modern form. I
Oh
want
yeah,
multiplayer. I want DLC. It kind of reminded me of Sekiro, but easier, which was nice. It was
yeah,
refreshing.
yeah.
uh,
I was like,
but
I'm a badass. Like I can take all these on.
yeah,
Meanwhile, I'm over here like
but
getting bodied by like purge troopers because
oh, dude,
I
yeah.
was not a Sekiro badass. So
You need to play Sekiro. You need to play it. You
yeah,
need to do
and,
it.
like, I don't know why I
You
keep
will
playing Monster
appreciate it.
Hunter. It's like I should play Dark Souls or like Sekiro at some point because yeah,
I think, I think you. I'm trying to think of the thing that you would appreciate more. I mean, Dark Souls is good, and especially the remaster, like, really upreses it to a point of, it feels like the Halo Anniversary Edition. It just feels good, but it's still kind of an older game, and I'm guessing the distance between us and now and then is probably starker now than
dude,
even when I played it.
I play like
Uh,
PS2 games for nostalgia. So like
yeah. Well, I mean, dude, if
like
you can get
older
through Dark Souls
archaic
1,
quote unquote archaic game design doesn't really affect me, but like I can tell the difference. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, Dark Souls 1, man, there is something they would not be talking about it the way they do
to
if
this
it
day,
didn't do
yeah.
something right.
hmm
And especially because you have me to lean on and I can explain to you the fine the fine detail of
What we
the
need to do
lore.
is that I need to stream me playing Dark Souls, and then you can just be
Oh,
the guy in the
that's
background who's just
yeah.
talking crap the whole time.
Call you a casual and
Yeah.
say, uh, put on that red Tearstone ring, you noob.
Yeah, like I think
That's
what
right.
I was playing.
Oh, is that the? Oh, sorry. What's up?
Yeah, I think I was playing. I was streaming Dragon's Dogma. I gotta go stream that again. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, like I was just playing, and that's got me the most viewers so far, oddly enough. But yeah, like some dudes were giving me tips on how to play, and I was like, like I don't remember any of this. Like you're just telling me so many things.
Yeah, dude.
It's been like
Well,
5 years since I played this game.
I will tell you, man. If you can get into it, and if you think like, you think it's possible in terms of like raw value, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, and Sekiro, just as PC games, are just like, dude, I can't. Did I tell you that I'm playing through Sekiro again?
No, but
I
I'm not
can't
shocked.
stop.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, I was talking so much shit about that game and being like, oh yeah, I just want to hate it. I don't think it's that good. And I'm just, this time I'm like, I just remodded my character, so now he's wearing a different outfit. Um, I modded his prosthetic arm off because I don't
Sometimes
know,
that's all it
role play.
takes, dude.
Oh, dude, but I'm doing my D&D role play. It's
Yeah,
my
nice.
so you should be
I
proud.
need to run that freaking single player D&D campaign someday.
Yeah,
It's just gonna be you in an arena fighting a bunch
and
of
I'll just
dudes.
be cutting people down
Yeah,
with my bad self.
yeah. Be on the lookout, folks. It'll come sometime. I'm not gonna give a date.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but
Yeah, dude.
yeah, but just like sometimes like I think like Monster Hunter is the only game I play like regularly, and it's just repeating of like I'm at the end. I've done everything. I
Yeah.
just play it for the gameplay at this point. And
Yeah, no, it's good,
maybe
man.
one or two like new like decorations or like buffs I can get, but like other than that, no. I just play that just purely for the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to do it with Dark Souls and all the other things because so I would need you to take me on this journey.
Dude, honestly, if you actually did that, I I would be honored
All right,
to take you on that
nice.
journey because I got dude I okay let me my one of my beta readers named Tanner. I think told you about him, but
Yeah.
great guy. Literally can deadlift 635 pounds.
Oh man,
He's a buffalo of a human being
that's like the
and a
doctor I work for who's like 66 and still does that. It's like,
oh
oh
Jesus,
Jesus.
yeah. But he's a really smart kid, computer engineer, you know. But he uh he wasn't and he had like stopped gaming years ago. He said the last game he really played was Half-Life 2, which fucking mad
Ooh,
respect
yeah.
first of all. Huge Half-Life guy. Um but he yeah, so I was like, dude, and we were working a really hard job. Like it was brutal. We were working 80 hours a week. Uh very little time to do extra shit and but I just you know I don't know if you probably haven't, but there's a book called The Things They Carried. You ever read that book by any chance or heard about it?
I have not.
Okay, so famous book by a Vietnam vet, and it really is just a seminal novel about the guy in the trench, the warfighter, and what that person experiences, and really, but the things they carried, literally, the whole first opening, he talks about the small details and exactly what people had in their rucksacks, what they were carrying with them. People were carrying letters, they were carrying magazines, their favorite mug to drink out of, their pictures of the fiance, right? And just going through the detail is just such a showcase. It's so simple and minimalistic, and yet such a showcase of humanity and really um, uh, great, awesome, kind of explaining like the whole saying, you don't find time, you make time,
Yeah.
because like the things you really value, it's not a cost, right? It's like value added to your schedule, even when you're robbed of time. Well, for my buddy, it's like we were just busy as crap, and we just do not have time to be doing a lot of stuff. But I just kept talking about because I just read this book about Dark Souls
Yeah.
called "You Died: The Dark Souls Companion," and I would recommend it to anybody. It's a great book. They just came out with a hardcover that I want to
No,
buy,
nothing's in there.
but it's just a love letter to this game that's just and it's just rabid fans talking about it, trying to explain why it's so masterful and why it's so smart. And so I told my buddy about it, who's literally didn't have a computer that could run it, and so had to upgrade. And so he like goes to this huge length, and I almost feel guilty. I'm like, man, like, dude, this is not going to be like I even told him a couple times, like, you know, don't do this because of me. Like, I'm a huge Dark Souls fan, but that's just because I have pathologies that are inexplicable. But he just ended up doing it. Upgraded his graphics card, and if also an extra little variable in that is that to play Dark Souls 1 before the remaster on PC was a nightmare because the PC port is terrible.
Yeah, I've heard it was
So,
awful. So
yeah, so you have to download a mod called DS Fix. And so and the other thing is you can't play with a mouse and keyboard. And I just didn't even think about it because I have a controller that I hook up to my PC.
yeah.
And so he's like, dude, I can't play this with a mouse and keyboard. It's like, shit. Yeah, you have to order a controller. Like, and so I really felt bad because at this point he spent actual money
Oh my
just
god.
to make this happen. But then he's like, what did you do to me? And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, dude, I'm hooked. I love this game. And I was like, really? And so he was asking me questions. And I mean, but he beat Sekiro before I did. Now he went all the way through it. I don't think he's played Dark Souls 2, but neither have I.
I've
Anyway,
heard it wasn't very good.
yeah, right. And there's a big line drawn in the sand among the fans, among the community about because there's so many people who are apologists about it, saying like, no, but it's so good, guys. Like, it's got great DLC. And it's like, I get it.
Didn't I already say like I watched like a 16-hour video series about that of like how a dude just broke down every single argument that made it. That was kind of like, no, this game's good because of this. It's like, no, it's terrible because actually this and kind of thing. So
Yeah, like
I don't know how I went
I
down that rabbit hole, but there I was.
well, and don't get me wrong, I give it all the credit I think it's due, which a lot of the people who defended, say, for instance, that the PvP is really solid, which it is. But I never played the games for PvP. It's like that's not, and just because it's build diverse and stuff, and especially after playing the PvP in Dark Souls 3, which I think is superior, and I don't know, but it doesn't attract me. And the vast majority of Dark Souls 3 is a sequel to Dark Souls 1, not Dark Souls 2. So,
Well, yeah, because Miyazaki worked on one, not two.
yeah, right, yeah, and I,
And then Elden Ring is
I,
coming out. If we're gonna be more topical and modern.
what's up, Elden Ring?
Yep.
Oh, don't say its name.
It's gonna be hopefully
Oh,
very good.
dude, I just gotta survive until Elden Ring comes out.
Yep. When is that?
That's
Is that coming
the
out this
marriage of
year?
my two things, man. No, I mean, no, I don't think so. I'm
Okay.
sure we'll find out. We might hear some stuff at E3, but
E3's canceled, dude.
no, and well, I think what a lot of companies have said is that they're gonna,
Do
you
like
know,
a Nintendo
release
Direct
their
esque
stuff.
thing.
Yeah, right. But
Which,
so I'm guessing we'll hear about some stuff at some point.
if I want to be like ranting about E3, I just feel like people, like companies, should just do the Nintendo Direct thing nowadays because it's
Yeah,
really
that's what everybody keeps
as
saying.
as festive as E3 is with all the announcements in like a single day. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, I love it. Part of me is like yes, but I feel like just to like keep everything from falling into that dead. There's like always a dead period during the year. It's like just have like announce things when you're ready to announce them. Pretty much, just have like a
yeah,
video announcement. Because sometimes like it's
yeah,
weird having these conferences where you're like you just have all this hype to show a trailer,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
kind of like okay, well, I mean, I understand hype, but like, come on.
I don't know what the answer is because at the same time, E3 is like Christmas, man. It's like I get hyped for it. I am not the patient little uh guy you are. Like I can't. I love to see a trailer and get hyped for a game or something.
I
But
need all of it.
but
Oh.
at the same time, like I can understand you have to stay relevant, right? And it's not a charity. It's not just Christmas. It's supposed to be about business and basically what you see is these companies saying that hey, it's not really worth it for us. It's costing us money to come out here and do like Sony turning its back. Like I kind of hate that. I don't like it when I I would rather this console war is stupid, right? Like I can't wait for a time when I don't have to buy three different consoles to play all the games I like. I want to play
Yeah.
Zelda on PC. I want to play, and even apparently Sony's talking about in the next generation having a PC option and having a PC app
Oh,
that you
that.
can run
See,
games to.
that
So I'm
would
like,
make that would be pretty cool
yeah,
if they
for
just switch
fuck's
to
sake,
like if everything just
please.
goes to. Oh, then again, like
And Nintendo
I
some
don't want it to be an Epic Game Store situation where you need to have like
oh no
you
no
need to
no yeah.
download the Epic
Well,
Game
that's
Store to play these games on there. It's like just
well, but I think well, and, yeah, and I'm dude, and the one my one conflict about Doom Eternal is that you had to download the Bethesda launcher to I got a
well,
discount on it because I did that, but
I
it's
feel like
like, jeez,
well, think like all the different stores. I don't really
yeah,
mind because again, competition promotes innovation and
yeah,
therefore like
right,
that.
yeah,
But the same thing is all these stores have like absolutely terrible like quality of life features compared to like Steam.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
reason Steam is such a big monopoly is because they don't have any of these quality of life features that Steam does. And it's
yeah,
just really
yeah, no, for
confusing.
sure,
It's like, guys, if you want to compete, just copy your competition. Like they don't have a patent on what they're doing right now.
right. Well, and I'm not,
Like,
I don't know what morphology happens, but if you go where the money is,
yeah,
you know, like what Sony and Nintendo need to be jealous of is the fact that Microsoft is tapping into the PC market a generation early,
yes,
right? Like Microsoft has sworn to everybody that all their games are going to come out for the PC in tandem with their Xbox release, and I'm like, right there, like, because I'm a Sony fanboy,
hmm
Bloodborne for life, Naughty Dog fan till death, like God of War is my bay,
yeah.
but like, but the idea that you're giving me the option now to where I don't have to own an Xbox like to play Xbox or to play Halo Infinite, dude, that could you imagine if Sony said tomorrow like or Nintendo like I because I wouldn't mind, man, I wouldn't mind,
Well,
like get that shit on PC.
yeah.
Stop making me play Zelda in 900p.
Well,
I want to play Zelda in 4K like a fucking human being.
with the I think with see like I think the advantage that Microsoft has again is already their PC stuff because again they originally were a PC company, so
Yeah,
duh,
right.
easy.
And their
Uh,
12
yeah,
teraflop tower of a PC that
yeah,
they're selling as an Xbox Series
yeah.
X. Dude,
But yeah,
12 teraflops. Did you know
what?
that a supercomputer in the year 2001 was capable of producing a whopping count 'em, 1 teraflop. And that bitch sold for $50 million.
And here we are today.
$50 million. And today, everyone and their mother can buy an Xbox Series X and get 12 of those,
Babies, just right
you
there.
know, Tesla coils worth of power.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway,
But yeah, I think
sorry,
like
mind blowing.
well, Microsoft has that advantage where they can easily move the PC. Nintendo has the advantage where their console, at least with the Switch, has the unique capability of I'm just going to remove this from my console deck and walk somewhere else to play it. like
Yeah, dude.
like that alone has made their console unique enough where people will probably just buy it for that
But
convenience.
what
Sony
I
has
just
none of that. Like Sony is
Nintendo,
yeah.
but
What?
Nintendo has always been slightly bisexual about their platforms. They have always done the dual deal, the Wii versus the Nintendo DS,
Well,
right?
see, now
The Game
they
Boy
combined it
Advance,
all
the
into the
Nintendo, and the
Switch.
GameCube.
So yeah.
Right.
So
And I wonder if that's going to be the set future for a while. Like, I
yeah,
wonder if the next console would do the same thing. I don't know. I really don't. We'll see. But
yeah.
at the same time, like, I'm kind of what I just have always wanted this, and I don't understand why they're so stubborn about it, or seemingly so. Is
Well,
like, I want them to be competing with the other platforms in terms of fidelity.
hmm
Like I said, I want to see Nintendo games to their fullest graphical potential. And now we're getting to the point where it's not going to matter, because hopefully the next console generation will be like crazy good and like indistinguishable on a screen
or
as big as
maybe
a
it'll be
Switch.
the last one, and everyone just jumps to PC. I don't know because I feel like
Well, I mean, dude,
out of
even
all of them,
PCs are talking about making Switch size. Did you see that Alienware thing? It was like a prototype, but
yeah.
it was literally a Switch, but a PC, a gaming PC. And you're
If
like,
they can,
well,
yeah. If the moment that comes out, I feel like everything is just going to transition to just developing for PC.
well,
But
even
like,
then,
yeah,
dude, Gabe Newell, had just. Did you see that interview with Gabe Newell with IGN by any chance?
no, is that recent?
Okay, yeah. So they're talking about Half-Life Alex, which looks absolutely awesome, and I wish I had a VR so I could play it, because I'm jealous as fuck and huge Half-Life fan. And I've been convinced at this point that Half-Life Alex is the best we could possibly have asked for in a Half-Life 3, because like there's no way we're going to live up to the standard of what a Half-Life 3 was expected to be. We always knew that
Well,
Valve
someone
wanted
like
to do.
the original writer released his planned script, and it does that thing where like, especially for a video game, I feel like it's a terrible decision where like everything you
Yeah,
did was actually pointless.
dude,
And
bro.
I
Half-Life was
hate
never
it.
about the story. It
I
was never about, and if it was, it's about, you might as well just start expanding on the characters you already have.
I know.
So Alex Vance to start with. I want to know more about her, because she's my favorite character. She's literally the best side character that I can think of, besides maybe the girl from BioShock Infinite. And even then, I think Alex Vance takes the cake.
Good
Half-Life
old Elizabeth. Yeah.
Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 specifically is beautiful, because it's just romancing Alex Vance. But anyway, but dude, no, Half-Life Alex actually looks amazing. And but Gabe Newell was talking about how people, and he, dude, I don't know, he's on the cutting edge of the, but he's basically saying we are so much closer to the Matrix than people realize, with
Oh,
like,
okay.
kind of first person UI and heads up display and kind of like
Well,
augmented reality
it
craziness.
wasn't yeah, Microsoft's working on the HoloLens. I don't know if they're still doing that, but that was just
Yeah, I haven't
augmented
heard much.
reality.
But dude, we're talking about processors that can fit in a contact lens, and even then, whatever kind of crazy ass technology that would be internal, like uploading your subconscious to a computer, or finding a way to project images inside your
G-
synapse, and
God, that'd be so
crazy
weird.
Black Mirror looking shit.
The moment that
Anyway,
VR
yeah.
becomes like you just step into a capsule and go to a different world, like I'd pick it up. I would be 60 years old, but that's my retirement plan. It just,
Hey man,
just
dude, I'm so tempted. Like, if Half-Life Alex is, because basically, like, people have started to really invest a lot in VR, but there hasn't been any lead horse, you know, to my knowledge. Like
And
I can't think of a
Valve's
VR
usually
game.
pretty good about like being like the pusher of a lot of those things.
Well, you're right, and so like the second that and people have seen the potential, right? You see it in like Skyrim VR really just completely changing the experience for a lot of people. Or I can think of a couple other VR games just off the top of my head, like Blade and Sorcery, which is this crazy, or like Boneworks, if you've ever heard of that, which is just like this physics, very detailed physics game, physics simulator you can play on VR.
Nice.
But like what happens when you have a game like the original Half-Life that redefines what the platform can do, you
Yes.
know? And Half-Life Alex, if not, if maybe potentially falling short, we don't know yet, but that's their mission statement
And
essentially,
it
right?
has to be
Because
an
they're the Half-Life
experience.
team.
I feel like it has to be also be an experience that's substantial. If it's like a 3 hour game, it's not going to do much.
Yeah.
Like, how long did the original Half Life last? You
Oh,
played
dude.
like
Oh my
a
God,
noob
so
just
long.
played it.
Yeah.
A noob just played it and like didn't know what he was doing. I feel like at least it's like at least a 10 to 15 hour, like,
I mean,
or maybe even
well,
longer.
Half-Life 2 is probably pushing 20,
Yeah,
if
so like
not.
a 20 hour game. Like it has to be a 20 hour VR game because a lot of the VR experiences, here's 3 missions, and that's all you get to do is
Yeah,
play these three
yeah.
missions. Like, and I feel like
Well,
that's
I
what
think it's
that's
the
what limits
topic
VR a lot
conversation.
is how
Yeah, yeah.
short everything is in their like gameplay library.
Well, and there's physiological problems too. Like people can't handle the motion sickness, and which I think is kind of funny. That's your biological way of
Like, it's
you know
caused because your body's
purging
probably just like
your
you
body thinks you're poisoned because your equilibrium's all fucked up, and so you're
yeah. So like you're
fooling
moving
yourself into thinking you're
around in
poisoned.
this virtual world, but your body's like staying still. So you're like,
Yeah,
which is why again I'm waiting for VR to turn to capsule technology, where I just sit into a capsule, put on a helmet, and I'm in another world. I'm
yeah,
out.
right. Yeah,
I am
dude. When
zoned
we're
out.
old, like that is, we're all just gonna die in these gaming sarcophagi.
I'd maybe like, just like okay, listen, like I will live a second life and just and then I will die. And that's it.
Dude,
We're good.
hey man, I'm not sorry about it. I want to live in the virtual
Or
world,
maybe
but
it'd be like Altered Carbon. If you ever read that book or watched the TV show,
yeah, I
where
watched a
like
little bit of it.
yeah, where like essentially you have a chip that has your brain or like your subconscious, your consciousness in
Yeah,
it, and you
yeah,
just
and you
transfer to a
have
different body.
sleeves. We call them sleeves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that like, I thought that was really cool. Actually, I haven't read the
Oh no,
book,
it's good idea.
but like the show is actually really interesting. It's a really
Yeah,
interesting concept of like
yeah, so bad.
of a futuristic sci-fi and cyberpunk all in one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
for
that's cool
sure,
to me.
dude.
Yeah, like stuff like that is just like VR. Like any technology within its infantile state looks absurd. Like what
Yeah.
video games? What's the first video game? Pong. Can you imagine like what most people thought of Pong when Pong first came out?
Oh god,
It's like, oh yeah, I had this sophisticated game called chess, and I just use my mental like. There's a mental jousting session and everything. Like that. Like, what do you do in Pong? I move the slit up and down and bounce a ball back.
well, that's what I mean, man.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the game that captures me on that Venn diagram we talked about of like, you know, the way it plays versus the other variable. Like,
and Half Life Alex
I,
could be that way. It seems a lot more immersive with its like movements and everything like that. Not it doesn't feel like as janky as
yeah, no, I
other
mean,
VR
you
games
should.
can be.
Have you seen a lot of details on it?
I have not been keeping up with the game that much, but the initial trailer looked
Yeah.
really interesting.
No, it looks like a pretty interesting and hopefully a step above its competitors. But I'm optimistic.
Well,
We'll see.
it is
It's
Valve. Valve hasn't made a game in forever besides Dota,
yeah, seriously.
but so I'm just like, we gotta hopefully just it's good. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
like Valve doesn't have a record for terrible quality, so
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
indeed.
And then finally, when the VR and then like the immersive VR RPGs come out, then I'll be like, yeah. Of course,
Yeah,
I'll just look absurd in my room, all these like towers set up, and then there's a helmet on my head, and I'm just like waving two controllers around.
it's just straight up Ready Player One. Just
Which
stacks of
actually, I'm like surprised they went with that modern of interpretation of like VR for that game,
yeah,
for that movie. I mean, where like it's seriously just Oculus, but like a little bit better.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, because sometimes like that movie nails it in like the nostalgia bombs when like it hits you like, yeah, that's really good. But a lot of the other stuff like just looks really silly. Like it's showing like masses of people in the streets just punching virtual characters. It's like that sound like that's looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like the world,
seriously.
I don't feel like the world would ever devolve into that.
Yeah, that's they're like there aren't many rules on the rules are loose anyway
Yeah,
in that part of like the physicality of it. That's pretty funny.
it's like if the setup of the man on like the treadmill with like
Yeah,
the all that made sense to me. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But like everyone in the streets, like 50 people just punching, I'm like, no.
yeah. I mean, even just some of the other stuff, like how would you do the other physical stuff, jumping through the air and like doing crazy kung fu, but then other times you're restricted to the treadmill. Like what?
Yeah,
You know, how does that work?
I think it's the movie is like from it's like a guilty pleasure of mine. I know it's not very good, but I still enjoy
Oh,
it.
dude,
Yeah,
no, that's what I mean. It is exactly what you said. Nostalgia bomb.
yeah.
It's like good for that reason.
Like for some reason, like I just like the movie was felt to me just really super rushed. I know, yeah, not it's a movie podcast, guys, but
Yeah,
but like the movie just felt super rushed up until they get to The Shining.
yeah,
And for some
yeah.
reason,
Definitely.
after that, I was just sold on the movie. I was like, yes. I don't know
Yeah, I
why,
know.
but I really like this movie now. I
No,
don't know
I
what
thought it was
happened.
yeah, I thought that was hilarious. But
It's just really, it's just so strange. I think that movie's just odd, and it's like it's such cheap nostalgia too that I'm like, "Ugh, I can't believe I like this much.
yeah, yeah. I acknowledge that it's cheap nostalgia, and yet I don't care. It's like
I do think one of the most accurate VR quote unquote games, like well, that portrays VR, has been like a. You ever heard of the Dot Hack series?
yeah,
Yeah, I played that a lot in Germany because I had nothing
yeah.
else to do. So like
PS2.
they had like 8 games in the series. I
Yeah,
was like, all right, I'll just play these. And I played all those, and it never pulled any punches when I was portraying dudes playing VR. For because like their VR console was just a helmet and like a controller you hold in one hand. You can just do a bunch of stuff online wherever. But whenever it
mm.
showed a dude playing the game in public, he was like on a train staring into space, his mouth like open and drooling, and he's like tapping buttons and like staring someplace in his helmet. He's like, I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
that's how it would be. like,
yeah. I know, right?
like
Yeah, it'd be,
it's not gonna be like people doing kung fu in the streets. It's gonna be dudes sitting on couches, drooling.
oh my god, yeah. Oh,
And
dude, did you hear that? Have you heard anything about Neo 2?
I have not.
I I'm
Did
kind of tempted because I'm a glutton for punishment,
did,
and I
did
played
you
Neo 1, but
did you beat
I
Neo
heard
one?
it's hard. I don't think I did actually because I got frustrated at what I felt was an unfair poison segment,
Okay.
and quit
Was it,
because yeah.
maybe now you can tackle it because you're a different man.
Sure. Sorry, you broke up.
Oh, yeah, maybe you can tackle it differently because now you're a different man.
Yeah, yeah, man. Hopefully, I don't know. Like, it's not. Again, you got to compel me in more than just the one way. And Neo One compelled me in gameplay. Like, it was fun. It felt good to play. It felt like kind of like Ninja Gaiden meets
Onimusha.
Animusha.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But beyond that, it's not like it was a gripping story. And I'm not even gonna pretend I give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
And Neo Two like looks about the same. Like I'm in it if it's. I'll probably get it on sale at some point if it comes to PC.
Yeah.
But
I want game
but
stories
anyway, I just heard
to
it's
take a
harder than
step up,
Sekiro.
honestly. Like, there's a lot of, like,
Yeah, God,
they've been
jeez.
getting kind of better where, like, a lot of the stories nowadays are adequate. But, like, there's nothing nowadays that's, like,
Passable is not. Yeah, it
punching
doesn't
me in the
mean
gut.
good.
Like, I will remember this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
like, kind of thing. Like, I want something else besides Kingdom Hearts to be the thing that, like, keeps my mind occupied for the next decade, maybe. Hopefully.
Well, what and that's what I'm kind of hoping for Cyberpunk is like I have not had a game because the amount of replayability in a big RPG like that just gives you this open-ended meta,
Hmm.
that you can just go back through. Like, look at what Warhammer is doing to me. It's not like much. It's not like the game is that vastly different when I'm playing as different factions, and yet just with a couple different tweaks. it just becomes a totally different experience, and I just can't stop. That's my go-to game. I just play it all the time. But um, and I'm hoping Cyberpunk can give you that same open-ended RPG experience of like playing different classes will have completely different effects.
Just
Uh,
again, just the entire game, no cybernetic enhancements at all. Or
dude, that would
if
I
the
think
game
that's probably
forces
gonna be
me,
difficult. Yeah,
or if the game forces me to like one or two of that the plot requires. But like,
yeah.
I just want to see if
I'm,
I can beat the game
that's
without
the
having
hard.
any cyber like.
Yeah, I really because that's the thing. That's the problem is like in RPGs traditionally, I don't put any stake at all in tech or like especially like Mass Effect that sort of thing. Uh, I don't do alchemy or anything like that. I don't do crafting. Like that's not my thing. So, but the thing is, if you're not doing any tech at all in a game like Cyberpunk, that might be really tough because like, you know, the what do you call them, net runners. That's the Gibson
Oh, the like the
thing where
decking into like
they're like hacking into
yeah,
everything you can
yeah.
see. It's like I don't know.
And
Depends on
maybe
what the
maybe the
meta
game
is.
will have alternatives where you don't need to put it into your body, and maybe I'll like allow those, but who knows? But like, I just want to see how far I would get without any cybernetic enhancements. Like, there's a giant tank, and I'm just a dude with a pistol. It's like, here we are.
Yeah, I probably want to be a walking, talking bundle of scissors. Like
Yeah,
the good old fashioned slice 'em and dice 'em
yeah.
augments. But I don't know.
First playthrough is probably gonna be a lot like that, honestly.
It's probably gonna be ugly. Like my first Witcher 3 playthrough was pretty freaking ugly because you just don't really know what you're supposed to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have experience where you're like, I'm especially in some game that's so morally neutral as The Witcher. But
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to be the good guy. But sometimes they don't let you be the good guy. Sometimes you just accidentally stumble into something horrific,
Sometimes
and
you
you're
walk into
like,
a bar fight and just want to beat up the patrons,
Jesus.
but you cut all their heads off, and you're like,
Yeah, dude. I
okay.
literally, I was like, I didn't mean to fight that hard. Really, just I decapitated a human being in a bar in that game. And it's like, okay, that was a huge. Oh, dude, and Kira Metz, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
I did. There are like out of 10 ways that can go, about 9 of them involve you killing her, and I just didn't know that. I was like, wow, there's really one way to do this. And then even then, you can goof it up later, and she gets
Murdered. Waited.
yeah yeah she got murdered in my recent playthrough.
Jesus, dude.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I.
Damn witch hunters, man. Novograd's a racist, bigoted place.
But it's such a pretty city. For me, it's like,
That
oh
is,
man, they're burning people in the square.
bro.
But if I go over to this district over here, it's
Wow.
bopping.
Greer, you bastard. Have you played Toussaint yet? Have you played the DLC?
I have not. No.
Dude, oh my god, if Novigrad is nice, you have you have oh god. Just there's a I think you can if you do you have the DLC in your
I do. So I gotta like.
so you can start a DLC run just at base level whatever, and then just go from there.
I know, but I'm the kind of guy who's like, I gotta play the base game again, and then I'll jump into the DLC. So
Well, did you finish it all?
I have not. So I might just stream the rest of what I'm doing. Actually, honestly.
Oh, dude, you really should,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, you should get back through the Witcher and then the Frenchville.
I'm
That's
just
great.
essentially using streaming as an excuse for me to actually play the games I have in my library.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, aha! Now people can watch me fail at this. So here we go.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, well,
Because like I'm that guy who like, oh man, that's a level 20 hag and I'm level 1. I
yeah.
will spend the next 3 hours fighting this thing and realize and like just never stop to think that maybe I should come back at a higher level.
Yeah, I know, man. That's another part of that like fake difficulty, like The Witcher, unfortunately does that.
The level gating thing, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like in my urge, and even as far back as Oblivion, I just remember always having the urge to turn the difficulty down when it just got too hard, and you're like,
Well, yeah, like
oops.
I think like what Dark Souls doesn't rely very much on levels, does it? Because people can play the game without leveling at all, right?
I mean, it for the mortal man, leveling is imperative.
Okay,
For speedrunners and stuff, they break the game and know exactly how not to get hit. But like
okay.
for the most part, the difficulty, like the way to make it easier is to get to like
Because
to the right level because you
sometimes
can. There's a huge substantial difference.
like,
Sorry, what's
I
up?
do enjoy like you scaling with the enemy, but the enemy remains smart, just smart or if not smarter as the game goes along. And I
Yeah,
think that's probably why I like Monster Hunter so much because like your armor scales with the enemy, obviously, but
yeah,
like
yeah,
in the end, like you don't have permanent stat buffs, so you can still take off your armor and like be a quote unquote normal guy who can like
yeah,
jump off 500-story buildings and land on his feet just
yeah.
fine, but and all that stuff. But
Well, there's like I'll put it this way: in Dark Souls, a perfect example is that one of the a couple of the first early bosses. One is the Taurus demon, and one is the Capra demon. So like there are actual bosses in the early game when you're first in the Undead Burg, and so like you fight both of them in separate places, and a lot of people struggle with them. Like the both are pretty easy once you figure it out, like how to do it. But what you run into later is like after you've buffed and leveled up pretty substantially, you go down into the demon ruins later, and they become just normal enemies. And so you see that cliche or that characteristic in a lot of other games these days, where like a boss from the early game just becomes a regular enemy later.
mm,
And even Doom Eternal is doing it right now. But like I think Dark Souls does that pretty really well because this enemy steamrolled you early in the early game, and then you've just leveled up a little bit, and you come back, and because you know how to deal with them, literally you're doing so much damage. You hit them with one hammer swing if you're like a strength build, and you're crushing them, and you're like, yeah, like so showing real improvement, if that makes sense. Like I think that's a huge value in a game. Like
I mean,
there's nothing.
when your skill ceiling hits like starts getting higher rather
Well,
than
it's
like
like
the level like the
yeah,
stat ceiling getting higher.
yeah, yeah. Seeing honest results, like it's what I don't like about MMOs. I realize is that even the difference between a level 80 character and a level 30 character, a lot of the time is just the numbers that the spells are producing, like the yellow numbers that are damaging. But like, what other effect is really convincing you that you're more powerful than you were? And like, there's some of that. I'm not trying to say that all MMOs do that the bad way, but a lot of a lot of games do that better than other games. And in terms of like showing how much you've progressed in your development, like Dark Souls just shows you that in droves.
Well,
If
the
that makes sense.
Arkham games I feel like did that actually really well too, and that like the first few encounters of like fighting aren't that bad, but as you go on, the amount of enemies you're fighting gets way like larger. The
Yeah,
types of enemy variations, all that and stuff, and like you putting all the combinations in for your buttons and all that stuff. Like I know some games call the game, some people call those games button mashy, but I always found them pretty strategic. And like, there's a big dude, hit this button, do this maneuver, jump over to this guy, counter, throw this thing over
yeah.
here, kind of like all that. And I feel like that's a good skill. Like I feel like making that variation and you reacting to almost like a dance again, almost like that way,
Yeah,
makes it more satisfying rather than just I have better stats, therefore my sword hits harder. kind of.
yeah, yeah. Right.
I think Assassin's Creed 3 Odyssey might have that issue
What's that?
with like the health thing where like you level up and do more damage rather than just like getting into the different variations of encounters.
Yeah, right. I just don't. I don't like the thing I hate the most is like in when there's like that soft cap where if in The Witcher and Assassin's Creed, say I'm level 12 and this enemy is level 15, I can fight them and they might be a little difficult, but I can kill them
Yeah,
when they're level 15. But if I'm level 12 and they're level 16, suddenly it becomes impossible.
yeah, yeah.
Suddenly it's just throwing spaghetti at the wall and you're like, okay, that is annoying and not and just not conducive to fun or like
Fun.
or yeah, right. Not like what the hell, dude? What are you
Well,
doing?
I think The Witcher is like the most egregious about this, in that it sells itself being this realistic, gritty world, but then those
Mhm.
stats come into play. And don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, I'm not like bashing the game, guys, but like I love the game. But it's then in the fact that like
but it's
as
not perfect, dude.
you're a
Yeah, that's
Witcher,
like that's
yeah, yeah,
absurd, though. Like,
yeah, you're a Witcher, and this random hag in this hole is level
happens to
20,
be
and he can,
level 30 and you're level 12, and it just suddenly is mopping.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I feel like the openness of the game would be way better if it's just again more skill based rather than stat based in that aspect.
yeah, right. And that's something I think that I will say compared to Dark Souls, Sekiro moved in the direction because Sekiro doesn't have nearly as many RPG functions as Dark Souls does. So you really don't have to level that much and can still get through Sekiro better, I think, than you can Dark Souls.
I
But
think what they could do is RPGs. Is again, I think D&D has a really good system where it has stats, but you don't increase the stats very often. What you focus on instead is skills and how you use said skills.
yeah,
And I would like to see more focus on like that kind of RPG elements. Because when some people say
well, dude,
RPG elements, it's like, yeah, you can boost your strength and hit harder. It's like, no, I want me to have like, I have a strength score, but then I also have this ability score, and that when I want to do this certain thing with my strength score, I do it even better because of this thing, and therefore like, there's just that like, it ties into the role playing thing where like,
yeah,
I'm good at this, and therefore I'll just do better naturally, so therefore it makes sense.
bad dude.
Yeah, and like I just want more games that embrace that style of design and not have me be a jack of all trades and master of everything because I don't know, I just find it boring. The more limitations I have, the more fun I have, oddly enough.
Yeah,
Like Mass Effect
dude.
and Andromeda, you can do literally everything and the combat looks pretty fun, but for me it's like that doesn't seem like as interesting as like, oh, I'm a stealth based character rather than running in guns a blazing. I'm gonna sneak around the side here and then
Yeah,
just shoot because that's all I can do. I can't like just guns a blazing like I would normally like. I'm not Solid
yeah,
Snake. I can't.
yeah. Right, exactly. For
Yeah,
sure, dude.
and things like that. I just want more of that rather than like shallow RPG mechanics because sometimes shallow RPG mechanics make things slower.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All
All
right, man.
right. Yeah, I think that is it for today, guys. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah, take care.
If you liked what you were hearing, or maybe even seeing, it's just two flashing icons. I don't know what you're into, but yeah. So if you like what you're seeing, leave a like and possibly subscribe. We will see you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.